Hi, ladies. It's Sandra here from Women on Transition. I'm one of the head coaches and one of the owners of Women on Transition with Fiona Steady. And we're so proud to be doing what we do every day. And I wanted to share with you a bit of the behind the scenes, what got me into this and why I'm doing this. And what gets me up early in the morning and keeps me up late quite regularly, because it's something that I get asked a lot. And I get asked, why are you coaching women that have gone through separation and divorce now after you've been a business coach for so long and you've been in, running your own organizations and you retired and you're seemingly, took it easier and now you've gone back and ramped things up in life, and the momentum has certainly increased in the last 12 months as this business has just, it's grown and it's scaled out to be across Australia now, and we're even running events internationally. So my background, for some of you may not know, was in the bank and in business as well. So I was 14 years in the bank. Grew up in a small country town and married a local farmer when I was just 20, and I ended up setting up an agricultural business, moving to Perth, and this is a real fast track of everything. But in the end, I ended up going back into my own business. And in Perth, a big town of Perth, I ended up setting up a business teaching people how to invest in property shares and also how to run a business effectively. And that connected me up globally to another organization that I co-founded that ended up listing on the New York Stock Exchange just a few years ago. And we ended up with close to 1,000 employees when we listed. So I'd gone from small business to medium size to corporate as well, and amongst all of that, and then going back into running my own organization. And what I knew and what I learned along the way was everything and everyone around me was only as good as what we do as far as personal development. It's just what we put in is what we can not just get out, but what we can ripple effect out to our family, to our kids, how we show up, how we can bounce back from trauma, how we can handle situations that are conflicting situations, maybe angry, maybe road raging situations that people are coming at you, maybe whatever it is in life that's happening. And through all of this, I went through 2 divorces, and both divorces were in their own very different, but certainly the one thing that was a common was myself and the kids ended up separating out of the relationship. And I didn't know through that time who I could go to and who I could share where I was at. And I didn't feel that I had any one person that I could go and get financial advice from, legal advice from, children parenting advice from, relationship advice from, communicating with somebody that was, at the time we were in great conflict with. And in my second relationship, when that broke up, I was the one that moved out. Here I'd found out, there was a third person. And so there was all these things that had layered onto it. And my daughter was going through her TEE, her high school, year 12. And so I had all these extra things impacting it as well. My son was with me and we moved out overnight. And so I disrupted my family for the second time, I felt, and I still didn't feel I had anyone or anywhere to go to. And without a doubt, I know I made mistakes. And I look back now and I think I could have done it so much better. And if I knew then what I knew now, I absolutely would have. And the things I would have done differently was just to have gone a little bit slower and to know that, we can be a bit kinder to ourselves and a little bit more patient. And I just was in such a mode of survival and financially survival for both, because in both situations I was entwined with the businesses as well. And I'd invested heavily into my second marriage, actually invested into and was a significant debt. And so we had to unwind all of this, and I was at risk of losing everything financially again. And this was coming up into being nearly 50. So I was like, what have I done so wrong here that I've made 2 really big mistakes in life that I felt at the time? And I was the common denominator. And it was only through me going through and learning and educating myself that I realized that it was me, that it wasn't me that was deserved of the behavior that happened against me. It was me that showed up into relationships in a way that I went in looking for something, that because I wasn't whole and complete, I was looking for someone to complete me. And this was the big difference. Once I got that, and once I understood that I would show up in a third relationship, because I was like, oh, I'll never get married again. And to fast forward this story, I did get married again. And so the only way and the only reason I did is because I know now what I did wrong, and it was me. And it wasn't through lack of, me not knowing, because at the time I even knew at the time there was things that weren't quite right, and there were things that were red flags, and I just ignored them, and I just forgave them, or I just thought that I was trying to justify them. So this is through me doing the work that understood. And what I didn't find at the time was anywhere that I could go that would give me unreasonably, good advice, which was telling me that I needed to do something, step up, or change the way I was, or to behave in a different way. And my friends were my friends, and though I love them to bits, and they're still my besties today, but they gave me their advice of their experiences. And my parents gave me their advice from their experiences. My parents had gone through a separation, my mum when I was just 7, and so I had no grandfather in my life either. So I had no role model grandparents, no role model parents of families that had navigated their way through conflict, breakup, or maybe even navigated it to maybe not break up. So this for me was, I found very lonely, and I felt very alone through this time as well. So I just want to share a few things about my learnings, and if one thing I can impart, and this is that ripple effect, and why I do what I do, is if I can help one person to go through and feel that they're not on their own, they're not alone, and they're not lonely, because there's people out there that are like you. And I know when you separate, quite often a lot of your friends are married or in relationships, or they take on what you've told them, or they take on what the other person's told them, and it does separate a lot of connections. And it's so important through this time to know that you've got someone solid and potentially an unreasonable friend there that can give you the right advice. And I ended up speaking to somebody that, if my closest friends, I'd told them who I spoke to, they'd be really surprised. Yet the best advice I got was from the most unexpected places. And one person was a random person, literally knew me as an associate, a business associate, and had said, how's things going? I hear you guys have, moved on and separated, and how are you getting through things, and how are the kids? And, I know I burst into tears, because, you're in the thick of it, and you're trying to put one foot in front of the other, and someone comes up and, they're kind. And I remember saying, I just don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know what I can do. I don't know how to make it work financially. I've got to look like I'm going to have to mortgage the house if I stay here. And I went into this nearly stranger, these intimate things, and poor thing. And he just looked at me and he said, remember, Sandra, it's a settlement. So the financial side, it's a settlement. He said, and it's transactional. He said, you have to look at it as both sides settle and neither sides are happy. And everyone feels that they've settled and they've given more than they should. And no one feels that they've really, at that point, in most cases, feel like that they've come out a winner. So that for me was a golden piece of advice. I was able to step back and look at things a lot more transactional. I was able to understand that neither of us are going to be happy, instead of just trying to make him happy or trying to make me feel like it's reasonable or fair, or there's no fair and no reasonable in these things in most cases. And if people have gone through and they've been able to navigate through their financial side of things in an amicable way, you are the minority, and good on you, but certainly it's a tough spot to be in. So these are the unexpected bits of advice that I got, and I ended up with these little gems along the way from people that don't even know what a blessing they gave me. And these are the things that I pulled together in my learnings and what I've done, and to be able to pass on as well. So I just wanted to share a few little slides as we go. I've only got a couple here because I think it's more important about just knowing that as you're going through, that there are other people that have been there and can help you navigate it a little bit smoother, and maybe be that person that can help you pass it on as well. So I married at 20. I started my first business with my then husband, and we had 2 kids by 30, 2 beautiful boy and a girl. And my 2 kids now are 27 and 30, and very independent, very beautiful souls, and both very successful in their own careers. One's got his own karate dojo, and he's a 3rd Dan black belt. And my daughter is a lawyer, and she's a federal prosecutor. And so these are the things that make me so proud that through all of this, the kids have come through well balanced. They love their dad. And I was really focused through that time that they could come through and spend time with him, and go to see him, and come home and talk to me about their time with him on the weekend, good and bad, or unhappy, and that I was able to be supportive of that time that they had, versus giving them my opinion of at the time what I was thinking. So business grew, investment properties, banking career, millionaire by 35. This is when I was with my first husband. We did business really well. We had a franchise. We had, I was still working full-time in the bank. We had part-time, he was working part-time on his family farm. And we also had, for us, we set up a local agricultural business as well. So we were doing super successfully, and we were working all the time, both thinking we were working towards, our goal and setting ourselves up, but we looked after all the money side of things and not us. And 18 years together, we ended up unwinding all of that. And it was a crazy battle over 12 months of nasty, unforgiving situations. It was just, you look back now and it was just sad that we had to end up closing something off that started off so great to be ending up in such a situation. And I ended up with 17% of our assets. I had to mortgage the family home to pay him out so that he could move on, as well as me. And I made that decision to settle at that point so that we both could move on. And I chose to let it go and to believe in myself at that time. I dug it out of my socks because I was struggling to have that self-belief, but I pulled it out that I'd made the money once, I could make it again. And I wasn't sure how and what I was going to do, but I just thought, I can do this. And I had the kids, they were healthy, they were happy, and I was, and we moved forward. And I sold my business and moved down to big city, Perth. But I did feel very unworthy. I blamed him for the marriage breaking up, that if he hadn't behaved in the way he had, and we'd had domestic violence in this family, that we could have been in a different situation and we could have stayed together. And it wasn't until years later that I started, like I said, doing this work, that I started realizing it wasn't my fault that there was the violence. But it was my responsibility that I stayed. And 2, it was my responsibility that I even went into a relationship. And it was only by me coming back around and looking at our relationship with gratitude, yes, gratitude, that I am grateful that I have these 2 beautiful souls that we born together and we raised together. And they are just such a blessing. And over the years, I was both mum and dad. The kids had every second weekend with their dad. And this was something that I was proud in raising the kids and giving them my time and effort and my morals as well. And when I met my second husband, I hadn't healed from my first. I already had known him. We hadn't been together, but I had known him. And we ended up just making each other feel needed. We were 2 people that had come out of broken relationships, quite dysfunctional families, and we came together from a place of being able to help each other and heal each other. And we did. And it worked for a while. But after a while, it just, things that don't have good foundations, and if you come together in your brokenness, it's going to stay broken. And so I financially built myself, rebuilt. I went through and I set up an advisory business. I started teaching people how to run businesses. I had my background in accounting, the bank, and what I was doing in my own successful businesses. And we put together our heads with another couple, and we built and invested in a concrete plant. So the concrete plant was a bit out of the box, but it was something that, those ideas that come together when you're sitting there and on a, with a few beers and you're riding on the back of that beer coaster. Well, this is one of those ideas, but it was a successful business and ended up being bought out by an international conglomerate as well. Not just doing the global business of concrete, sorry about coughing. I went on to set up that international business that was an online educational company, and it was teaching people initially how to do businesses, not just online, but at events and retreats. And then we moved into doing COVID was a bit of a pivotal point for forcing it all online, which actually ended up scaling it up a lot quicker, but forced its trajectory a lot faster than we were ever expecting. But it ended up, we listed it on the New York Stock Exchange where it is today. That was my cue to think I'd done my bit. I decided I'd leave. My marriage wasn't going good. We ended up divorcing not long after. And through all of this, I ended up with another financial battle on my hands. His involvement in the concrete plant, his family had invested into it, I'd invested into it. And of course, we had to split all this hard-earned money again. And I was diagnosed with breast cancer that year as well. So everything seems to happen at once, doesn't it? And here I was thinking, you're just getting things up to that beautiful point, and you're getting things on par with where you want them to be and these goals, and they just can come crashing down. And that's what happens in all of our lives and everything we're doing. So it's so important to look at what you've got in your life and how you can keep feeding it, keep generating good relationships and great healthy communications, and keep a balance with your health as well. So since then, I healed myself. I learnt to love myself, and I am enough. I heard this great quote by a wonderful speaker years ago. It was in Croatia, actually, and I'd been asked down there to speak at their event. And she got up on stage and she said, I am enough. And, she said, I want you to say to me, you are enough. And we all went, you are enough. And it was a bit of a humor going on there. And then she said, right, I want you to turn to the person next to you and I want you to say, I am enough when you look in their eyes. And I really struggled. And I was like, whoa. And I started getting teared up and looking around. Everyone else in the room was about the same. And I was thinking, wow, where's this come from? And how much of where we are in life stems from us not feeling like we are enough. And so I typed up I am enough on my computer and printed it out, and I laminated it, just those words, and I put it on my mirror in the bathroom. I put it on my little sun visor in the car, and every time I had a chance brushing my teeth or I put it on the kids' mirror. They were like, Mum, you're putting all this motivational stuff all over our bathroom. What if our friends come over? And I was like, good, they can read it as well. So I am enough was my catch cry from there. And I just thought, I am enough. And I've just been pushing myself all my life to just be more, to do more, to be faster, to be better, to show people I was smart, that I wasn't super good at school, and I really pushed myself in my businesses to show that was a success. My relationship, I was never going to let that fail, because why would you show failure? Because then you're not enough. And so it really opened up for me how I was really stuck in this path of trying to be enough for everyone else. And I am enough just as I am. And so if you take one thing from today or from listening to this, put that I am enough everywhere that you live and look to and on the fridge. And I found my inner child. Who was I really? I had been in a relationship since I was 17, and I had been at school up until 16. And so it was only really a year that I have not been in a relationship in my life. So who at 50 was I really? And I went back and started thinking, what do I actually want to do? If I was doing anything in the world, or I could go anywhere, or I could have anything, or be with anyone, what would they be? And I really struggled to even come up with what those answers were. And that worried me. And it should worry you if you can't come up with those answers too, because this is us, it's our life. We want to find out what that inner child is and what we're doing, and know that they've got a right for a voice. And quite often that's what we've been pushing down. So I invested in me. This was before then. I probably started when I was about 40. But I went through and I discovered my values and my purpose. I really got clear what it was that was my pillars of success. So it was to be integral. It was to be confrontational, not confrontational. It was to show up as a role model mum. And all through my separation and divorce, I kept thinking in the back of my mind, if at a later point in my life, I've got to show the kids these divorce papers, these communications, these emails, could I do that? Could I put all of this in front of them and be okay with that, and know that everything I've said or everything I've done has been in a way that's respectful? And that was my North Pole all the way through this. It was my North Star. It was my ability to stay on track that kept me there, that really helped me be in a way that I was feeling like I was on, not just on track, but I was in integrity. Because so many things go out the window, and so many thoughts are there, and so many things are different, and you have got no one to support you, in the sense of you've always had potentially someone right there that you could bounce something off, and that's just gone, and you feel very rudderless. So for me, it was bringing back that rudder. So for me, I looked at what could motivate me, what's going to get me excited, what's going to get me out of bed, and it was to be purpose driven. So I looked at that's easier to say than do, and what is it that is my purpose? Everyone bandies around, what are you passionate about? And I was like, I don't know. So I started thinking, what am I passionate about? What am I excited about? And for me, it was about how I can educate. Education was a big one. And for me, educating people, I'd been doing it through business, teaching someone how to be successful, how to get their cash flow going, or get their product sold, or to change the tactics or change the team. And I had a belief that people, if they were able to be successful in business, they could employ people, and they could earn more money, and they could give back more as well. And when we were working I've worked in South Africa in like local schools, and I helped with the school kids, the primary and the high school, to grow. They weren't eating green food. They were eating maize, and they were eating, but no leafy vegetables and no fruit. And so while I was there, I helped them use my skills from my agricultural background to grow vegetable gardens and set up, catch water off their school roof. So they had water tanks set up. We raised money and we bought some water tanks. We bought some goats. We bought some chickens. We bought some fences. And the kids have now got this massive little eco village going on with this selling goat's milk. They're eating the goats. They've got chicken eggs. So, and they're actually going through and loving what they're doing and growing what they're doing as well. So I'm really so proud of just these things, one little thing that you can do, and proud of these kids that they're stepping into learning enterprise and learning business, but also learning the value that they are enough. These little things that give us the confidence, the self-confidence to know that if we get one thing right, we can do something else. You can't just go from zero confidence to 100% confident. It doesn't work. It's getting little wins along the way. Learning to ride the bike will help you learn to feel confident to hop on a horse, but you'd probably never just go jump straight onto, a motorbike. You'd want to hop onto a push bike first. So these are the things that gives you it's like a balloon. Self-confidence doesn't just go out one side. As you blow it up, it goes out evenly on all areas. So if you're confident to maybe do one thing, go out and have dinner on your own, oh, that's scary. Gives you the confidence to be able to go out and, maybe go and introduce yourself to people, or go to a women's network, or go to and do some personal development. Come along to one of our workshops and meet people that are like you. And it's surprising how many people out there are just like us as well. So I started thinking about, who do I want? If I could have anything, could have anyone, and what would that be? And it wasn't just amazing friends, because I've got them already. It was, for me, it was about a magnificent man. And how could I attract a magnificent man? And that was by me being whole and complete myself, so that I didn't bring somebody in to fix my brokenness. It was about me having someone that was whole and complete themselves as well. So when I met my man, I knew who he was. And we, from the start, just completely had a different relationship to I've ever had before, because we came in from a different level of thinking and consciousness as well. And 8 years later, we're happily married, and it's a completely different relationship to I've ever experienced with anyone around me, my family. So we travel, we go and we adventure together. We looked at how we could do things that were exciting and fun and living life. And through this, I retired from my the online education business and rebuilt my wealth, and I secured it for myself, and both of us came together with our own finances and were able to contribute equally as well. So I only work with impact-driven people. I only work with people like Fiona, who are excited about giving back, who spend their days and nights committed to it, are passionate about it, and are so excited. And like, we had this awesome event on the weekend. We've got another one this weekend. And we had a group of our new graduates. Girls have been in our 12-month program, and they went on towards the end, they have a dating weekend, and they get the opportunity to organically meet in a very natural, we call it a mingle, guys that in this case, we had actually vetted some of them, and we were not setting them up, and it wasn't a hook up, and it was the girls got all dressed up, and they met up with these guys, and where they were from 12 months ago, little scared rabbits and little mice, not wanting to share that beautiful voice that they have and speak up, to where they were on the weekend. It was just, they were butterflies. They had come out, and they were just amazing. They were stunning, and they were the same people. They looked the same because they hadn't changed, but they were stunning, just beautiful, because they were glowing, and they were passionate and excited, and their eyes were sparkling, and they were excited about their future. And that's why I do what I do, is because I see where they were, and I saw instantly where they should be and where they could be, and the gap I can see as well. And I know how we can close the gap, and it is through doing the work. And the work isn't hard. It's just a commitment that you want to be somewhere different to where you are. So now my focus has been on my health. I am cancer-free, been cancer-free for 5-6 years now. So it's surprising how quick that's gone, but it's certainly something that you're conscious of all the time, of how to maintain your health and keep it as a priority as well. So just one of my last slide nearly, but healed and learned to love myself is a big one. It's really about how I can keep that I am enough as something. It's such a subconscious thing now. I don't even think about it consciously. It is how I just feel every day. I found that inner child, and who was I, and what do I actually want, and where do I want to be, and who do I want to hang out with, and what do I want to do when I want to be silly and funny and giggly and serious, and all of those personalities that we have. Who do we want to be in those times and have around us? And I did invest in myself. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in time, money, and working out how I can be a better person and how I can help others as well. And repurposed my direction. When I retired from corporate business, I looked at how I can give back and work with people to ripple effect. Because I know once we heal one, we heal many, because that ripple effect changes generations. And I know when the mama in the pack's not right, the pack's not right. And so it's so important to know that, as we get our mums right and ourselves right, it passes down to our kids, and everyone sees it. People at work, our cousins, our brothers, our parents, and a lot of relationships get strained or broken during separation and divorce. And so important to look, they can be healed. And there is strategies and ways to do that as well. So for me, I not just rebuilt my health, but I rebuilt my wealth as well. It's so important. They are so aligned. And for me, I've forgiven my past and myself and looked at, my role in all of the things that have happened in my life from when I was a young child to now, and looked at how I'm 100% at peace, but certainly grateful for it all as well. And that personal experience, these were a few things that along the way, I know the cost of waiting too long to heal and avoiding the pain. For me, it was a second relationship that didn't work. I didn't fix myself from after the first and jumped into a second. And even though it went for 12 years and I thought I knew them and all of those things, it just prolongs your suffering of being where you shouldn't be, of not living that full life of where you could be. And that cost a delay, that emotional wound of, feeling like you've had two failed marriages, two disasters, or this sense of failure was a really big one for me. And our relationships suffer, our self-worth erodes, our dreams get put on hold. How many girls can't count, there's that many that have not asked for a pay rise because they didn't think they were worth it, or didn't feel comfortable asking for it when I've met them and they've come into one of our courses. Yet when I've gone through and explained to them what work they're doing and how they're single-handedly holding the whole company together, or they're doing 6 jobs and they're doing all this overtime when they're available, time, they go in and ask for a pay rise and they instantly get it. It's just them not having the confidence in themselves to go and ask, and boom, 25,000, 35,000 last one was. So these are the things that come up. We just don't think that we're worth it, and we don't like to ask, and we don't, so we don't get offered. So these are such powerful things to be able to have someone there as that unreasonable friend giving you a little push and giving you some tools of rationale, of wage comparison, of a strategy to go in there, and a conversation to have as well. And small steps today create big shifts tomorrow. Healing begins the moment you say yes to yourself and give yourself permission to shine. Put yourself first and be the one that puts the oxygen mask on themselves before they put it on anywhere else. And this is that when you're drinking from that cup and you're feeling totally drained and everything's gone, that energy's gone, you're exhausted, you're run down, you're burnt out. This is learning how to drink from the saucer and keep the cup filled. Give people stuff from the saucer, but you keep the cup filled. It's your cup, you keep it filled. And you give other people, the saucer, because it's so important. You can't give energy if you don't have it. You can't give money if you don't have it. And quite often, how many times I've heard so many people saying that they're broke, they've got no money, their credit card's maxed out, they've got themselves in financial situations that it's a negative financial situation, and they have given money to their kids many, many, many times, and their kids were going to give it back or pay rent on a property that they bought from or do different things, and they have not kept up healthy boundaries with them. So that ripple effect of healing and you having your own self-confidence is what's going to give your kids a self-respect for you, self-respect for themselves as a result as well. So my role as a coach, for me, it is to get people to have momentum, get unstuck, the ones that are stuck, take action even when it is uncomfortable, create a safe space for growth and through breakthroughs for people to be able to really move forward and really feel comfortable and confident and excited about what's ahead. I look at that big windscreen in the car, and it's a big windscreen and a big vision ahead versus that small rear vision mirror. That's where your rear vision thinking should be. You're back behind in a small place, and move forward. Get excited about what's ahead, and you can't move forward without being excited and have a plan as well. So that's my little share, and I just wanted you to know that I love doing what I do, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's something that I never know what the day is going to bring. I never know where I'm going to be or what I'm going to do. I'm off to Melbourne tomorrow, heading to Brisbane, and then in Perth, we've got a big event in Perth in March. Then in a few months off to Sydney, and then we're going to Las Vegas this year. We're doing an amazing retreat in Las Vegas called Phoenix Rising. And it's all about, how we can break through and come into that next level of thinking and excitement in life. And we've got a beautiful retreat in Bali coming up. And then we've got a dating cruise in October. So there's so much going on and so much happening. But it certainly excites me. I love doing it. I love my girls. And thanks for sharing your time with me and for me to be able to share a little bit about what's going on and what I do. But if you want to connect up, you can book a call. You can book up through our Facebook. You can book up through the website, womenontransition.com. And I look forward to hearing from you or meeting you in person. Ciao for now.